My grandfather lived on a farm. He had a third-grade education. He moved to Muskegon in his early 20s and got a job with Continental Motors, where he was a machinist. He didn't smile a lot. Everything was very serious. He was very religious, and being a Swedish Lutheran, no dancing, no drinking, but he was very much a gentleman. He was generous. He believed in always being properly attired, even in his workshop where he wore a coat and tie.
An inventor at heart, Charles Johnson patented a new process for making piston rings.
Instead of casting individual rings, he thought about casting a tube about 2.5 feet long, out of round, and you would then slice a gap, put it on a machine, squeeze it together, and then they would slice up the individual rings. And it really revolutionized the production of piston rings. The piston ring company started with a partnership. My grandfather and a gentleman named Paul Beardsley. They each put in $2,500, and with my grandfather's inventive process, that's how the business started.
Muskegon, Michigan was dominated by the fur and lumber industries in the 1800s, but as those natural resources dwindled, manufacturing took over in the region. The Piston Ring Company was one of the prominent local businesses in Muskegon at that time. Their piston rings were used by another local company, Continental Motors, for automobile and truck engines. Through World War I and the following recession, the Piston Ring Company branched out into auto replacement parts, and in 1931 renamed itself Sealed Power Corporation. During World War II, Sealed Power retooled to supply piston rings and cylinder sleeves for military vehicles, including boats and planes. Post-war, the consumer auto industry skyrocketed, and Sealed Power grew right along with it.
By the early 50s, we had distributors in every state. And we had Sealed Power products in 80% of all American-made cars.
Founded on innovation, Sealed Power earnings provided capital for further expansion, first for acquiring auto industry competitors, and later for diversifying into other industries, which led to another name change. Hello, SPX.
In the first 85 years, the company was a single industry, almost entirely North American company, and for the last 15 years, it has become a multinational company and a multi-industry company, with, interestingly, most of its revenues now outside the United States.
For a long period of time, we were struggling with the way the world had globalized. As our leadership team looked at the automotive market globally, we saw it as a lower growth, very competitive market. And obviously, in a market where you don't like the revenue dynamic, you don't want to continue doubling down.
So SPX began a series of strategic acquisitions that moved away from automotive components and toward higher growth markets by
pruning the portfolio in order to create a corporation that was going to be global in nature, focused on highly engineered products, and become more of an operating company. So it's really the last several years that we've put a particular focus on building out end markets in the power and energy, food and beverage, and key industrial spaces. We're particularly proud of the fact that over our 100-year history, that we've made the right decisions and sometimes taken the very tough decisions to ensure that we've created shareholder value. And that's something that we're never going to lose sight of.
Globalization contributed to the move of the SPX headquarters from Muskegon to Charlotte, North Carolina, one of the many milestone events in the company's history.
First was early on in the company when the founders were successful selling their piston rings to Continental Motors, was probably a huge event in their lives, and certainly a huge event in the company's history. I think secondly, when you race forward to 1998, when we acquired General Signal, was the first big step that the company took to becoming multinational and multi-industry. And then the third thing I would highlight is in 2004 when we really became strategically focused on what we wanted the company to be going forward. And so we sold some businesses that we deemed non-core, and then we invested the proceeds to build the company to be what it is today.
The SPX legacy is definitely embodied in its people.
We've remained committed to developing and nurturing our employees globally. As we've said before, employees are our most important asset, and we've never lost sight of that.
The success of SPX is really built around the now 18,000 employees we have around the world.
It's more than a commitment. It's going that extra mile for the customers, and then executing the operations of the business with ethics and integrity. And that is the foundation of the company. It is the legacy, and it is what will drive the success of the company in the future.